In this chapter, we're going to work on more stem changers, different types of stem changers, and finally, infinitive, which is talk about what you are going to do in the near future. If we remember stem changers from a previous unit, the new addition in this unit is that we are going to find more types of stem changers. Besides E to IE stem changers, which we already know, another example is O to UE stem changers. For example, these 6 verbs, poder, encontrar, almorzar, dormir, volver, and costar, are all going to have an O to UE stem change. All of them have an O, and that O is going to change to a UE within the boot. Remember, the verbs do not change in the nosotros and vosotros forms. So again, if we were going to work with the example poder, which means to be able to, we take off our ending, we're left with our stem, and then of course we need to change our stem from O to UE before adding our regular endings. So poder, which means to be able to, becomes puedo, puedes, puede, podemos, podes, and pueden. I can, you can, he, she can, we can, y'all can, and they can. Notice how it has the regular ER endings, o, es, a, amos, ace, and n. Puedo is a very, very common verb. Use it all the time, and that's why it changes the way that it does. And notice the boot. Dormir is another one, which means to sleep. Changing the O to UE inside the boot, duermo, duermes, duerme, as opposed to dormo, dormes, dorme. Duermo, duermes, duerme, dormimos, dormis, and duermen. Where outside of the boot, you can see no stem change, and because it is an IR verb, we have O, es, a, imos, is, and n. Costar, same thing. Questo, questas, questa. Costamos, costais, and questan. Inside the boot, you see the stem change. Outside of the boot, you do not see the stem change. This is one of those verbs that you really only use in the bottom 2 forms, questa and questan, because not many situations call for saying I cost, you cost, we cost, or y'all cost. Usually it's it costs, questa, or they cost, questan. Other verbs that function the same way, almorzar, yo almuerzo, tu almuerzas, almuerza, almorzamos, almorzais, and almuerzan. Encontrar means to find, so I find, encuentro, you find, encuentras, he or she finds, él or ella encuentra, we find, nosotros encontramos, y'all find, vosotros encontráis, and they find, or you all find in the ustedes form, ellos, ellas, ustedes encuentran. Volver, which means to return or to come back, so I'll be back is yo vuelvo. Finally carrying on, vuelves, vuelve, volvemos, volves, and vuelven. Here are some examples conjugating to the forms according to the subject. We have yo puedo, ustedes pueden. Notice duermes is the correct answer. Dormes has the correct ending, but does not stem change, so that is an incorrect verb. Nosotros encontramos, no stem change outside of the boot. Vuelvo instead of volvo. Nosotros almorzamos, no stem change. When I return, we are eating lunch in the cafe. And then, ¿por qué no pueden venir tú y Margarita a mi casa esta noche? Remember, as soon as you see the word tú, you have to keep reading to check to make sure that there's nobody else. So it's not why can't you come, it's why can't you and Margarita come. So instead of puedes, the tú form, it's the ustedes form, tú y Margarita puedan. One verb that's kind of its own unit to say, that doesn't quite meet the verb or the requirements to be a stem change, but is an important verb to know, is ver. It means to see. And what you would imagine is that when you take off the ending, your stem is just the letter V. So you can imagine that you would just attach these endings to an ER verb and it would be fine. However, it's going to change slightly. Instead of vo, it's going to become veo. So you can notice that the yo form is irregular. It reinserts the E. So veo, ves, ve, vemos, ves, and ven. Also notice that the vosotros form does not have an accent. More stem changers, a different group besides O to UE and E to IE. We have E to I stem changers. Servir, repetir, pedir, and decir are examples of all these. Their E's are going to change to I's. If we looked at the verb pedir, took off our ending, this new stem is going to become ped. After we change our stem in the boot, remembering not to do it outside of the debut. We have pido, pides, pide, pedimos, pedis, and piden. Another verb we have is servir, which means to serve. It's going to change E to I, so instead of servo, serves, serve, it becomes sirvo, sirves, sirve, servimos, servis, and sirven. Again, E to I is stem change, nothing new. And of course, the boot. Repetir, the second E is going to change to become repito, repites, repite, repetimos, repetis, and repiten. Decir, also an E to I spelling change, but you're also going to notice that the C in decir is going to change to a D, much like hacer did with hago and tener does with tengo. Dico changes to digo. Besides that, we have our boot. Digo, dices, dice, decimos, decis, and dicen. Moving on now, we have ir plus a plus infinitive. In Spanish, it's important to be able to talk about the future sometimes. In English, we usually say something like, I am going to walk, he is going to speak, and we are going to go to the party, things that are happening in the near future. Where we're using this word going, coming from the verb to go, and then the following preposition to before we say what we're going to do. So going to walk, going to speak, going to go. The same idea happens in Spanish. We use the same verb, which is to go, and we remember that's voy, vas, va, vamos, vais, and van. No accent on the vosotros. And the formula that we're going to use to say this in Spanish is using the verb ir, dropping in the word a, the preposition a, which means to, and then writing any infinitive describing what we're going to do. Voy a servir la comida. I am going to serve the food. Vas a pedir el bistec. You are going to order the steak. Vamos a dormir. We are going to sleep. Notice, we only need to conjugate the verb ir. We have to just drop in our a, and then we do not have to conjugate afterwards. So you do not have to say voy a sirvo, or vas a pides, or vamos a dormimos. Some examples: ellos van a nadar en la piscina would mean they are going to swim in the pool. Vamos a encontrar una mesa. We are going to find a table. I am going to order fish. Voy a pedir pescado. We are going to have lunch in the café. Vamos a almorzar en el café. Y'all are going to sleep in the park. English to Spanish now. Ustedes van, or vosotros vais a dormir en el parque. If you ask a question, are you going to serve dinner soon? ¿Vas a servir la cena pronto? Is he going to go to the movies? Va a ir al cine. Notice how ir plus a plus infinitive in this case is ir plus a plus ir, where you only conjugate the first ir, and then you leave the second ir unconjugated. Va a ir. Is he going to go? And then I am going to destroy, which is destruir, is voy a destruir el examen.